Welcome, everyone. I'm sure we'll have some folks trickle in over the next 10, 15 minutes. Usually people skip my intro because they really want to meet the folks that are here, but I'll slowly start to kick things off. It is week 4 of our future proofing series, and today we're going to take a look at sort of North America broadly, and that's why we've got some colleagues and great organizations from the US that are joining us today. Before we get started, definitely want to acknowledge the lands that Foresight operates are the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. The topic for today we've covered, so future-proofing North America. Over the last many decades, we've been very close trade allies, and a lot of groups have been collaborating to scale up the commercialization and adoption of clean tech innovation, as well as create tremendous export and capital attraction opportunities for these sectors. And we've always done a lot of we talked a lot with Mel and her team, Jackie and her team at Battelle are incredible innovators, and the Rice Alliance has been doing incredible work for ventures, and we've actually had Canadian ventures go down and attend some of their programs. So I definitely also want to acknowledge that we have support from our colleagues and partners at NRC IRAP. So thank you very much for your support for this series. My name is Jeanette Jackson. I'm the CEO of Foresight Canada. And again, we're just delighted to be bringing people together. We're better together, open conversation, informal convening. And then in the breakouts, you'll be able to sort of talk and think about some different things that you want to, ask questions or bring ideas to the table. And then at the end, we'll consolidate. If you haven't been to one of our sessions, Foresight, our purpose is to help the world do more with less sustainably. And we do that by connecting industry, both the private and public sector, with the world's best clean technologies. And we have a pretty big network. So we support the supply side of ventures, but we also do a lot on the demand side, working with municipalities, provincial governments, industry organizations, as well as direct with industry on how they can look at procuring innovation to advance, these goals. I'm going to do a quick session recap, and then we're going to have each of our guests share more about their organizations and what they're up to, perhaps a few sentiments, and then we're just going to rotate everyone through so you can connect with them in breakouts, and a Foresight team member will be part of each of the breakouts just to help, track any cool notes and things that we want to capture in a recap. And then I'll do a live whiteboard recap. Usually it says 10 minutes here, but we usually end up with 3 or 4. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. What we know is that it's been a bit of a moving target over the last several weeks. We knew that there was a sort of a 4-week or 30-day reprieve on the tariffs, and then of course the new 25% on tariff on steel and aluminum has come into effect. And what people are asking is what does that do to my investment opportunities? What does that do with the movement of Canadian innovators across borders? And what does that do in terms of thinking about how we approach new markets? And with all due respect, each respectively build out our own domestic supply chain, which, I mean, we're not here to point fingers. It's all about putting everything on the table so that we can continue to thrive globally, right? But what we know at this point, as of today, and I'm sorry I have to say it like this, today the tariffs will start and come into effect next week. And so next week we are going to put a hold on the series and regroup the following week once we have more clarity on how things are unfolding and more specifics. So just keep following on LinkedIn and you can join at any time. Last week we did a big sort of domestic adoption and national network, convening. Just wanted to do a highlight of what happened in the regional breakout. So Prince Edward Island, the things that are important to that network are, patient capital, looking at industry specific programs and resources to keep momentum going and provide more bespoke supports. They want to look at also, there's a large corporate there. How can McCain become a bit more of a foothold in the broader innovation ecosystem? And then really look at those interprovincial partnerships where it makes sense. Nova Scotia, the same, looking at diversifying, their market portfolios, and being a little more strategic as opposed to reactive in opportunities. So I think, all of us want to do more of that, but perhaps, this type of reality gives us some more incentive to do that. Cross-provincial collaboration and trade reform were also highlighted in those breakouts. In New Brunswick, so the third of four Atlantic Canada provinces, really looking at like they're closer to sort of the U.S. border. What are the opportunities and risks on keeping up with trade, and also looking at the domestic and local partnerships, procurement. So if we're going to have sort of supply chain disruptions, whether it's for clean energy projects, whether it's food, water, all of those important things that we rely on. How does that look with some of the tariffs coming in? And then of course, what programs are available. And what we do know is that a lot of clean tech companies have been set up to scale for the US market. And so bringing these partners in today, it will open up doors to consider that. I mean, at the end of the day, we want both Canadian and US entrepreneurs and technology providers to be successful. And if that means having satellite offices cross border, these are some of the connections that will be able to help with that. And of course, tech adaptation. So making sure that we're tailoring solutions for each of our respective markets. Ontario, a lot of the groups there were more on the buyer side, so they need help procuring solutions. The auto industry obviously is a big hot topic. That's a lot of where the steel goes, but also just volume of vehicles. And then global funding. So quite a few companies have accessed, the IRA and other funding programs in partnership with U.S. counterparts. And I would dare say vice versa. We have U.S. companies that apply to a lot of our innovation challenges and stuff. And so we want the best technology applied where it makes sense across this continent. So how do we keep, these relationships, intact, through some of the hurdles that we'll be facing? My preference would be that no tariffs on anything clean tech so that we can save the planet, but that would be a little too altruistic, I think. Alberta and the prairies, they really have set themselves up to be site hosts for large, hydrogen projects, CCUS projects, geothermal projects. And so, bringing technologies from all around the world, will that sort of be impacted by some of this? And of course, there's, Alberta and Ontario had been less connected, and now we're hearing that there's some greater connections happening there. And in BC, some of our major sectors are certainly in the resource sector, so forestry, mining, and so making sure that we understand, our strengths and how the tariffs will impact more so our forestry sector will definitely be something that we need to get a handle on. So some good learnings, they're available online, and I'm sure each of the groups would probably have given some sort of a similar list. And of course, if you are interested in learning more about adoption, so whether you're a US or Canadian and you're looking at adopting clean tech, this is the platform that we've developed to help sort of move that along. And you can find it by searching Foresight Clean Tech Adoption Platform online. Enough about me. Very excited about the guests that we have here. So what we've got is sort of a representation. I think it's quite dynamic. So Clean Tech Alliance, an organization helping startups and local industry, set up in Seattle, but I know you're serving a much broader network. Battelle, I mean, just a long-term innovation organization that's I guess served really all the US and globally. So hopefully, Jackie, will touch on a few of the cool, things that everyone would know that I think a lot of people don't know. And then the Rice Alliance, we cannot forget how much academia and institutions have put into innovation and research to provide, good policy recommendations and spin out tech, from these institutions. And so I think Matthew will touch a bit on that. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Mel to introduce, just 3 to 5 minutes, introduce what you're working on and what you're willing to share in terms of your perspective, and hopefully then we'll move everyone into breakouts. Mel?
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thanks. I am driving today while listening and calling in, so thanks for your patience there. Slow to hit the unmute button. Really delighted to be here and love the emphasis on let's make sure clean tech projects get done and a global a global viewpoint, not a we have ours. We all have to collaborate in order to reach our climate goals. We have to make the planet smaller, and we have to make sure that we're collaborating in ways that, frankly, we're not good enough yet as regions, as governments, as countries. The Cleantech Alliance works broadly across the cleantech spectrum, much like Foresight. We have 1,000 members and partners spanning 17 states and 4 provinces, but the bulk of our network is still Washington State. And we work on everything from cow poop to fusion energy. So it's a dizzying array of kinds of companies and technologies that we get to partner with and support. And we have some pretty exciting projects working on our fusion industry cluster, our carbon capture and carbon materials cluster, as well as our built environment decarbonization cluster. We have an 8-year track record of running entrepreneur education and support programs, and we also focus on workforce development initiatives. So we're trying to do everything we can to find those pain points that keep projects from moving forward and help bring coalitions together to solve those joint challenges.
Awesome. Thanks, Mel. Jackie, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for the invitation for this, Jeanette. Very excited to participate. So I'm Jackie Kerber. I'm from Battelle. Battelle is the largest nonprofit applied science and technology company in the world. Say that 10 times fast. We've been around for about 95 years. We've been doing this a little while. Headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. A lot of folks know us from our management of 9 national laboratories across the Department of Energy and Department of Homeland Security. Battelle also has its own research and development arm at its headquarters, and that's where I sit. So we have kind of 3 different divisions in our business: health, national security, and environment and infrastructure. I'm our resilience manager. So what that means is I manage cross-functional teams across these different business lines to tackle challenges in resilience. So that comes with a portfolio that includes CCS, hydrogen, critical materials, plastics recycling and upcycling. We actually just completed a project there for the Department of Defense where we turned plastic waste into gun lubricants. So doing some exciting things there. Critical materials, of course, has recently taken the stage as a hot topic in Washington. So something that Battelle is very much keeping an eye on. We're continuing to open up our aperture in other areas to pursue and collaborate on. So happy to be here. Just a little bit about me. I've been with Battelle about 5 years. I am not a technical person. I came from the Senate, working for Senator McCain on defense policy in the energy and environment space. I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm Matthew Pena. I am the director of the Clean Energy Accelerator that the Rice Alliance for Technology Entrepreneurship organizes. I don't know if anybody on the call has had interactions with the Rice Alliance, but we support startups by connecting them with funding sources. That's not really grants, it's more focused on companies and investors. The Rice Alliance has been around for 25 years. The Clean Energy Accelerator that I help run has only been around for 4 cohorts, and we have 1 cohort per year. It runs in the summer, and applications open next week. So if you're interested in engaging with the ecosystem in Houston, the energy capital of the world, then please reach out either by email. I'd love to chat with you about the program. But over that last 4 years, we've had 55 startups. 8 of those have been Foresight companies, which is pretty good. We've had at least one in every class. We cover 5 different, it's a global cohort, but so far we've had startups from 5 different countries, obviously including Canada, 22 different states, and we've had as many Canadian companies as we have had Texas companies. So just to show that we're not solely focused on the Texas region. We don't take any equity when you participate in our cohort, and we actually provide a $4,000 stipend to cover any travel to and from and lodging in Houston. And we focus on 3 primary kind of buckets of activities. It's investor readiness, business readiness, and mentorship and network building. So we want to provide a warm introduction to the Houston ecosystem. And so we do that, and we have about 80 different mentors that are engaged. And then we have, and last year we had 4 executives and residents that would work with you kind of one-on-one throughout the program, shepherding you through it, and then making sure that you have all the resources and information that you need to be successful. Like I said, applications open next week, so see the website that I put in the chat, and then happy to engage offline.
Awesome. Thank you. So as I can imagine, you know, like the Canadian ecosystem, the US ecosystem is navigating you know, a lot of change. And one of the reasons why I thought it'd be cool to bring us all together, and the team thought it'd be cool, is because we are in this together. I think all of us as organizations, we want to see innovation become a core tool for productivity, for profitability, for competitiveness, and of course, in all of our DNA, is climate and sustainability. These problems aren't going to go away, and the question is if we work together, how can we make sure that, regardless of your political leanings, that we find ways to make innovation still make business sense, for all buyers on the public and private sector side. And so what we're going to do is, it's really best for you to kind of dig into some of those questions, and maybe it'd be good as well for Mel, Jackie, and Matt to learn more about the different organizations and groups that are on this call. But what we're going to do is do a sort of bit of a round robin of breakout sessions today, so that you can connect and talk about the opportunities, and share your LinkedIn profiles and all that. I do hope that maybe through your breakout, you can maybe just collectively agree on 1 or 2 ideas or reminders or considerations, on why it's important to continue to keep these relationships thriving and going, even through through these uncertain times. And so my team will be there to sort of take a few notes on that as well. But I think without further ado, we'll pass it over to my team here to coordinate the breakouts, and I look forward to consolidating the connections and the learnings in about 30 minutes here. Okay. Well, let's get going. I'm hoping that the goal is to see if there's 3 to 5 takeaways or learnings, or things that we need to share with the broader Foresight network, and of course the network of our partners here, if that makes sense. So I don't know, did anyone sort of come up with 1 or 2 learnings or ideas that they wanted to share? You can see this is our live board from the last few sessions. So anyone?
Yeah, I can kick us off here with Jeanette.
Sounds
What
great.
came up in both the breakout rooms that I was in is we're talking about both entities are not monolithic. So if we're looking in the United States, remember that there are some partners and actors, especially at the state level, and also that have a big presence as multinational corporations that still very much have their mandate and focus to drive innovation and clean tech to solve climate problems and grow economies. So we're still looking to have those champions move forward and continue to connect with them. Alternatively, there's also discussions of ways of being a bit more creative to get around any policies that might impede that, such as setting up satellite offices on both sides of the border. And so that companies continue to get their products in at reasonable costs, and there's services and organizations out there that are willing and able to help startups and SMEs achieve this.
Very interesting. Love it. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can add some notes from our breakout room. So some things that we discussed is the beneficial bilateral relationship that can continue with the states, not only for the environment, but for social and financial reasons. And one example that was given is, for example, if something is ordered from Vancouver, and it's a company that operates in the US and in Canada. Why is it being shipped from Toronto when it could be shipped from Seattle? So depending on logistical tools and things. So seeing what we can do to maintain that. Other things that we discussed as well, and some other highlights, is the differences in government expectations. So Canadians often expect the government to support businesses, and we have those programs, whereas the US doesn't. So there's already a lot of US companies that are stepping in for themselves and standing on their own 2 feet. And this creates opportunities in the states and groups who want to resist that government intervention to still stand alone and continue the bilateral relationship with Canada. And another thing that was discussed is in relation to trade policy and market impact. So one struggle that was kind of highlighted was if there is some industries with some really high priced products, that significantly is impacting the market value and disrupting trade. So just to balance economic uncertainty is key to maintaining competitiveness and sustainability together. So that was some notes from
How
our
would
breakout
I
room.
how would I summarize that last one?
The last one was more about balancing the economic uncertainties to maintain competitiveness. So just keeping an eye on what's going on and trying to figure out some workarounds. And kind of one example that was given is there was a really high priced product, and then having a 25% tariff on that really impacts the market. So just being creative to think of how distribution can continue in that kind of industry.
Okay, awesome. Well, several good takeaways here. Thank you all. We will break next week and kick off a whole new series the following week once we see how things unravel. Oh, I don't like that word. Unpack. I did hear that there may be another 30 days added on, so maybe we'll see that sort of announced on the news. I haven't seen anything come through all my news notifications this morning, which usually are pinging quite hard on this topic as I have my Google alert set. So thank you, everyone. I hope you made some meaningful connections. I see Annabelle's got another thing here. Biggest talent crunch. And okay, I will copy and paste that as well, Annabelle. Thank you so much for that. I hope that, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and I will get Annabelle's note. Really good work, Annabelle. Thank you for that. Bye, everyone. See you soon.